This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here with your latest Meteo Mundo forecast on Hurricane Tammy. We're going to cover the Saturday 11 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Tammy is currently moving through the southern Leeward Islands, will continue to move through the Leeward Islands today and tonight, bringing more direct impacts to portions of the Leeward Islands as we go through our Saturday. Now, just in our last forecast, I asked you to drop a comment below. Let me know where you're viewing us from and what the weather is like. A lot of you did that, and we certainly appreciate it because I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of other people who live in these areas want to know what the weather's like in your area as Tammy begins to approach or even move away. So let me give you the 11 a.m. stats from the advisory on Tammy. Winds are up to 85 miles an hour. It's moving northwest at 8. Now, Tammy has begun that more northerly turn, but unfortunately, it occurred far enough west where we do expect a direct path over the remainder of the Leeward Islands for Saturday and Saturday night. Pressure is 988 millibars. A lot to unpack here. I'm going to go ahead and, just like the last forecast, take myself off the screen right now, let you see this full screen. You know, a lot of people say this is the best way to view me anyway. I'll be back on at the end of the video to wrap things up, but let's look at what's happening. And I first want to start off with the watches and warnings. For the 11 a.m. Saturday advisory, a hurricane warning is in effect for all of the Leeward Islands, except for Saba and St. Eustatius, which are currently under both a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch. We have a tropical storm watch now in effect for the British Virgin Islands, and a tropical storm watch continues for Martinique, but you get that far south, and the weather in Martinique should continue to improve as we roll through the remainder of Saturday. So let me show you what Tammy looks like right now on our satellite information. And again, significant wind along and east of the center of circulation. But the really good news for places like Dominica and Martinique is that we really kept the core of Tammy off of those islands, all right? They had some very gusty winds, but certainly not the brunt of what Tammy could have brought. Unfortunately, as we get to Guadeloupe and north, we're gonna have more of a direct path from Tammy into those islands. So I am more concerned here as we go through time, especially again, starting with our friends in Guadeloupe and then especially places like Antigua and Barbuda. You can see that track line takes it right over the center. And, again, 85 mile an hour sustained winds. Now these winds are confined to a small area near the center of circulation. I can actually show you that right now. This is the basically the defined wind field right now. And again, let me take off the satellite data so it's just a little bit clearer for you guys to see. The areas in blue are tropical depression winds. The areas in purple are tropical storm winds. And then the areas in pink are hurricane winds. So this model hasn't picked up maybe on the newest kind of jog north of Tammy, but you get an idea that as we go into the early afternoon hours of Saturday, that we're going to start to see the weather go downhill in Guadeloupe, and then just deeper through Saturday and Saturday night, we'll continue to see those winds work their way up through the rest of the Leeward Islands. So, again, right now, we're about 30 miles or so away from Dominica, and it's moving away. Let me draw that line for you right now. A little bit more than that, about 38 miles from the center of circulation. But then after that, you're starting to talk about the potential for those actual hurricane winds to directly impact the islands. And you can see that, again, this is still just a computer model, all right? But certainly a higher chance for places like Guadeloupe and then Antigua and Barbuda to see those those hurricane conditions. So I expect tropical storm conditions to be widespread across all of the Leeward Islands, including Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, Anguilla, Saba, St. Eustatius. But as far as the core of either the strongest tropical storm winds or the hurricane winds, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda seem to be the islands that would have the highest chance based again on this track from the Hurricane Center. And again, those pinks are your hurricane winds, and anywhere along and east of that center of circulation, they're just going to have the highest chance because Tammy is just, again, slightly lopsided. And we can try and hope that the far western islands certainly kind of get shaved more than anything else. But again, this is a pretty direct path over the remainder of the Leeward Islands. I can actually put on this for you right now. Let's take a look. I'm going to throw on the temperatures real quick, and then I'm going to switch to the wind gusts. Now, these are real reporting stations in live real time. So we're starting to see the winds pick up right now. These are gusts. They're not sustained. hurricane, but you see Guadalupe up to a 26-mile-an-hour gust, and over towards Antigua, we're up to 32. So we're starting to see some fresh winds move into the Leeward Islands and also through portions of the Virgin Islands and the eastern sides of Puerto Rico. Nothing extremely significant. And again, these are just gusts, not sustained winds. But again, the interesting note is when I put the satellite data back on, we're really just seeing the beginnings, the far northern edge of Tammy beginning to move into places like Guadalupe and Antigua. So this is still very early on. Again, the weather is going to continue to go downhill in those areas. So again, that is kind of the latest on the track. Now, Tammy is forecast to stay basically with 85-mile-an-hour winds. There is not going to be a lot of strengthening, thankfully, but obviously we're talking about a hurricane moving through the Leeward Islands and potentially bringing direct impacts of hurricane strength to some of those islands. And we'll look again at the impacts that the Hurricane Center is messaging coming up in just one second. I can show you the NAM model. There's not a lot of reason to, be showing you these models anymore, except just to kind of show you that they are in agreement with the Hurricane Center's track. I'll put this into motion, and you can see again, we'll take it starting from basically now through around lunchtime tomorrow, and you'll see the name on. Oh, excuse me. It looks like it went out a little bit farther in time than I expected here. Let's see. For some reason, it's going out a little bit farther in time. So let me switch that for us here. Let's get back to where I wanted it to stop. There we go. All right. So let me loop this. And then we'll get a better idea here. I'm going to just switch things up real quickly here. Want to make sure that I get you guys the correct information. And sometimes these models can be a little bit finicky. Let's see here. Let's go through noon tomorrow. Okay, this should be it. Here we go. So this is the North American model, just showing you again that it's with agreement, the Hurricane Center's track. I'll put that on this product as well. Let's do that. The official forecast, the cone. Look at the NAM model basically buying that center line. Now, the NAM model is not as strong with Tammy as it already is, so we can discount the weaker Tammy from the NAM model. But just to show you again that the core of the wind, and especially the rain, is going to be moving through the rest of the Leeward Islands. And the rainfall could be significant enough to cause some flash flooding and some mudslide issues as well. So again, weather in the Leeward Islands will go downhill the remainder of Saturday and then into Saturday night as well. I want to go to the broad perspective here. And the reason why I want to show you that is because we have a lot of other people who are viewing us from many, many different areas. And I keep getting questions about certain areas. So I just want to be very clear that Jamaica is very far away from Tammy. There will be no direct impacts out of Jamaica. For Jamaica, there's no impacts, obviously, for the Bahamas, even the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And we have a lot of people who view us also from Trinidad and Tobago. Now, you can see there's Tammy moving up on this model. Trinidad and Tobago, no direct impacts, but you have had some indirect impacts. A strong south wind has actually brought you some rain. And we've had some rain in those areas that have been very hot and desperately needed it. That's what you guys have told me. You said, Rusty, we need the rain here in Trinidad and Tobago, and the south winds that Tammy is pulling in. Look at that plume of moisture. I mean, still going to be some good rain, even for Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, even St. Lucia. Again, you're well south of Tammy, but that south wind pulling in is going to bring you some showers and storms. So again, those will just be tropical downpours. They're not going to come with the wind, obviously. That's going to be moving up through the Leeward Islands with Tammy as we go through the remainder of this Saturday. All right, let me pop back on and let's talk about the impacts again. Again, this messaging is directly from the Hurricane Center's 11 a.m. Saturday advisory. Tropical storm winds up to 73 miles an hour over a large area of the Leeward Islands. If you live in the Leeward Islands, you should expect at least tropical storm impacts. Hurricane winds over 74 miles an hour possible in a much smaller radius along the path and just east of the center of circulation. Right now, tropical storm force winds extend 25 miles to the east of the center of Tammy, and that kind of radius will probably hold true in a general sense the remainder of Tammy moving through the islands. Potential rain for Martinique and Dominica, an additional 2 to 4 inches of rain, a maximum of 6 additional inches. For the Leeward Islands, we're still looking at 4 to 8 inches of rain, but a maximum up to a foot of rain. But 12 inches of rain is possible in some spots. For the Virgin Islands and the eastern sides of Puerto Rico, it's 1 to 2 inches of rain, a maximum of 4. And again, these rains could produce some urban and flash flooding and some mudslides in higher terrains. You know your local areas, you know the areas that flood first and could be susceptible to some of those mudslides in the higher areas. Potential other impacts: a storm surge, especially on the eastern sides of the islands, up to 1 to 3 feet, long period dangerous swells, very rough surf and sea conditions as far west as the eastern sides of Puerto Rico. And again, and this is very important, please consult your local government and local officials for the latest detailed information in your area, the updated watches and warnings, and any other messaging that the local officials want to pass along to you to use in any decisions that you make. Again, that's not what we do here at Meteo Mundo. We give you the forecast and we interpret it, but as far as checking in with what actions you might want to take, make sure you check in with your local officials indeed. All right, let's get back real quickly. Again, one more time for the 11 a.m. advisory. Tammy's winds are 85, moving northwest at 8. Obviously, again, for places like Martinique and Dominica, we avoided the core of Tammy. But as we get towards Guadeloupe and then areas north of that, we're just going to have more of a direct path through Tammy, which will certainly bring, obviously, the potential for some hurricane conditions to these areas. Friends, I promise you we'll keep you up to date. I thank you very much for doing me a favor and liking the video. You want the latest forecast on Tammy, please make sure you subscribe as well. And we'll see you back here as we keep you up to date right here at Meteo Mundo.